Hello again, everybody. Well, I'm down here at the White Duck Taco. There's going to be an event for Save Engel Stadium. I'll definitely be getting back down to Engel Stadium and try to film a little bit outside. They're not letting anybody in the inside, but for right now, there's not a lot of people here yet, but the news people are here. So let's go in and take a look. As you can see, there's a pretty good menu of stuff here. $5 tacos. And they've got some decent stuff, but check this out. This is actually a pretty nice, pretty big area. And it looks like they have even got adult supervision needed. That's funny, but it looks like they've even got some gear for maybe brewing some beer. That is pretty cool. I'll let you guys know how this stuff tastes here in a little bit, but it may go. I do believe that's Jackie Mitchell. And if you haven't heard of Jackie Mitchell, you definitely ought to check up on it. She struck out Babe Ruth and pitched against others. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it from over here, but basically, the ones that have a star next to them are gluten-free, although not free from contamination. So they actually have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They actually have 13 or 14 things that are gluten-free on the menu. And you got the bar over here.
Hello? Can you all hear me out there? Talk loud? Did someone say talk loud? Is that better? Okay, do we have any Lookouts fans in the room tonight? Woo! Okay, what about Engel Stadium fans? Do we have any Engel Stadium fans? I'm so glad to hear it, and I'm so glad you all have come out tonight to Save Engel Stadium night here at White Duck Taco. And we gotta say thank you to Nelson and Adam and Stephen for being willing to host this event. It's very generous. And I think they know as much as anybody about historic preservation, considering the story that they can tell you about what they went through with this building. And they have a lot to be proud of. So tonight, really what we want to do is have a dialogue. We want to hear mostly from you, your thoughts, your ideas, your hopes about this ballpark, and use that as a catalyst for the growing community conversation around Engel Stadium. I think you all may have noticed that there's quite a bit of activity on social media and that the local media is coming out. And I think it's really great because that's what community is all about, is using your voice to affect change. And we really want to see a change in the direction that this ballpark is headed right now. Am I right? All right, okay. So a couple of things. The movie 42, which many of you probably know was filmed at Engel Stadium, they are going to be showing that outside. We were just worried that the rain, which is expected to hit at 6 o'clock, you know, we thought it was safer to come in here first. But after we get done tonight, I hope everyone will go out and watch 42. And when you're about an hour into the movie, the dramatic scene where Jackie Robinson comes out onto Ebbets Field, that's Engel Stadium. They built the world's largest green screen at the time to convert Engel into Ebbets, and they did some massive construction work. I got to live through all of that, and I'd be happy to tell you about it at some point. But so I hope you'll stay and enjoy 42. It's really a phenomenal movie. It's also what baseball is about. You know, the thing about Engel Stadium is it really helps us connect to the roots of baseball and why we love it. I just think that there's nothing like going back into that old 1930s ballpark, and you can feel the crowd. You can imagine Joe Engel on the field, all the giants of the game that played there. But it was so much more than a ballpark for our community. Joe Engel used it as a place to gather the community for a variety of reasons. It wasn't just about baseball. He fed thousands of people in the ballpark. He gave away toys at Christmas. They had rodeos. It just was a place of joy for Chattanooga for many decades. And I think that's why people still love it today, honestly. I don't know, did anybody complain about AT&T Field going away? I didn't, I mean, why? Why is Engel different? And I think that's the heart of the question. And I think that's also the reason when we answer that question, we can understand why we have to keep it. So, we're going to be talking about that tonight. We do have a special guest who got caught in traffic on Interstate 24. Charles Ambrose. He is a Hollywood filmmaker who is working on a documentary and a feature film about Engel Stadium. And it's fascinating to me because how does a guy who's not from here take on a project like that? I mean, where did that come from? And what does he see in our story that is inspiring him to do this project? And he's not the only one. Are y'all aware that there is a Broadway composer who's written an entire musical about Jackie Mitchell? So something about our story inspires people, even if they're not from here. And that's important to remember. So again, thank you everybody for coming out. So a couple of things. We're at this defining moment in time where the fate of the ballpark is hanging in the balance. And so I'm going to tell you what I would like to see happen, but I would love to hear from some of you about where you think the path should lead. And so let me start by saying I would just love UTC and the county to put a pause on the planning that they're doing around Engel so that the community can join in the conversation. Does that make sense? So, do we have a way of making that happen? I think the louder our voices are, the more we participate in social media, the more we need to contact our elected officials. The city and the county may not own Engel, but they are our community leaders, and they can certainly influence, and they can certainly advocate. So I think we should ask them to, because Engel can be an important economic development tool for our community. I think tourism could be a big part of it. We already saw that happen in old Engel Foundation days where busloads of tourists were showing up to walk through the ballpark, and they were paying good money for it. So, why not look at tourism? Why not look at interpreting the site and let that be one component of it? But I would never want Engel to be just about tourism. We need to have baseball there. But it can be amateur baseball. It could be, I've been contacted about independent leagues and all kinds of things. So many ideas on the table for how this ballpark could be utilized. But the most important part is it should be a gathering place for Chattanoogans and to bring us back together for all kinds of reasons. So I would love to hear someone speak up and say where you think we need to take this journey next. What ideas do you have?
Take this journey next.
What?
Where do you think we need to take this journey next?
I think we need to advocate for a pause. We need to perhaps appear before City Council and County Commission. I don't know who we'd appear for at UCC, or I'd say let's go there too. But we can start with County Commission and City Council and simply ask that they make a request. And so that could be a next step. Yes, ma'am.
So who actually owns it? You said something about owning it.
UTC owns Engel Stadium. The land was transferred to the university, oh gosh, about 15 years ago. It's finally when the deed was transferred. But there was an expectation that they would keep it for the community and for baseball. Yes, sir.
That's my big thing. Is was it the verbal decree? Was it a
Come on up.
resolution?
We want to hear from everybody, but we got to hear you. Okay, go ahead.
What happened to the agreement between the city and county and UTC 20-something years ago when this all went down? What happened to that agreement? Why was it not honored? I'm heartbroken. I think it's a travesty what has been allowed to happen to that beautiful baseball palace from the 30s. It's coming up on 95 years. 95 years old. I think I'm off maybe a year or two. But and I look at Birmingham, Rickwood Field. Look at what they've done. Rickwood Field is actually older than Engel Stadium. They have Major League Baseball games there, Field of Dreams type games, special event games. That place is beautiful. Why did that not happen here? And so I want to know why this allowed to happen. I think there needs to be a public forum on this very topic. I think UTC has some questions that we need to answer. I think the city and county, I don't know if any of the people serving now would even know about this, but somewhere, does anybody have contact with the city attorney? We need to find the resolution or whatever transpired in this agreement. We need to find that, and some people need to answer some questions. Why did this happen? I mean, it's sad when you go down there, and I've been down there and looked through the cracks and taken some pictures, and I am stunned at what has been allowed to happen. It is terrible. And anyway, so whatever we have to do, let's get it done. But we need publicity. I make Instagram posts every couple of weeks. I put a picture from the past, and my thing is too much history to destroy. That's my little thing I put on there. And I've tagged the governor. I've tagged many elected officials just to try to make people aware of it. But you know, when you're just a little guy and you don't have much of a voice, it hurts. But we need publicity. We need to reach out to people. Somebody with deep pockets and a generous heart and a love for baseball. It would be great if those people would step up and help us. That's what we need. We got to have money, because the naysayers, that's all they're going to say is, well, do you have the money for it? No, I don't have the money, but I'm a fan, and I love Chattanooga, and I love Engel Stadium. Did they say the same things when they were putting all this money in the Tivoli? You never heard of people about it. What about Miller Park? How many millions did they spend at Miller Park? And look at it now. Sometimes the thing about progress is we get too wrapped up in progress, but we forget about our past. Well, we can't do that. We can't destroy the past that we've got here in Chattanooga. I'm sorry, I went too long.
No, that's great. Okay, I gotta tell y'all a quick story. Dyersville, Iowa. Anybody ever been to Dyersville? Really? Yay! It's a town of about 5,000 people. And they took a movie set and used it to drive their economy to the tune of over 100,000 visitors a year. That is where Field of Dreams was made. Dyersville, Iowa, a town of 5,000 people. It's a movie set. It's not real. And yet people come from all over the country, probably all over the world, because they want to be there and they want to play baseball there. They have concerts. I've got to believe that if a town of like Dyersville, Iowa can do that, that Chattanooga could figure out how to take the real Field of Dreams and do the same thing. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Who else has a comment? Come on up.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Garnet Chapin. I'm a local architect and urban designer. I restored the Walnut Street Bridge and Ellis Island, the Statue of Liberty. So it's not my first rodeo. And I grew up and went to school in this neighborhood, started Cornerstones, landmark sort of thing. And my perspective, as a child, I was able to go into Joe Engel's office with my dad before a ball game and see all the pictures of every team he'd ever had on the ball. He'd light up a cigar. He loved his cigars. And he would go out and watch the ball game from the bleachers or the roof or wherever he wanted to be on the field. But I think before you go out and raise a lot of new awareness, and it obviously is sort of the 11th hour, but I think as a planner, I think you need to have a plan. I think you need to be able to go to these people like the mayors and the planning commission and people with the money to have a plan. And I think if you had a good plan that focused on, this group focused on the stadium itself and some kind of hopefully symbiotic relationship with UTC that would potentially turn Engel into a softball field for the girls team and find a way to integrate that with their other existing softball courts and maybe convert the softball field to a soccer field. The facilities, the locker rooms are there. The building is savable. I mean, believe me.
Thank you.
Believe me, I started with a lot less than what is there on more than one occasion. And I do understand historic preservation pretty well. I've had the opportunity to talk to Janet a couple of times, and one of the things that I suggested to her, once looking over the Tennessee River, was the potential of getting someone that would come up with a team for banana ball. Now, this is Savannah, the Savannah Bananas, and they now have a league, a small league. It's not just one or two. They're playing all over the Southeast, and they're filling the stadiums. And of course, they get out there and they dance around, but you could use the stadium essentially as a theater. You could have outdoor concerts there. You just have to develop a good relationship with UTC and the park. They have a facility that they're throwing the girls softball apparently out of the facility over there in the zoo. And I know the gal who runs the zoo, and I think there could be really with the zoo and the university and a team, like a banana ball team, because these guys fill the stadiums. That's the kind of thing you can get an investor to come in, because this fellow in Savannah is making millions of dollars. Stadiums are filled, if you could fill a stadium, you could make some money. But if there was a group that would work with the university, I think you could have concerts there. I've seen some rock stars there at the stadium. It just takes some visioning, and I think you need to have a plan that makes sense with some money to facilitate it. You'd have to have a Jack Lupton come in and build the aquarium, but there are other people like that. There are people in Cleveland, like Alan Jones, who might be interested in something like that. I guess Alan's flying Jack's jet now. He's got a little Jet Ranger helicopter. That's the kind of person that could be interested. He is the biggest fan of the UT football team probably ever. There are those kinds of people, and there's still a couple of Probasco fellows around town who are interested in development. The foundations are pretty much, they've spent their money for the most part, and they've transformed Chattanooga. Chattanooga is one of the great examples of urban design recovery for an industrial town. You go up to school and you come back with dirt all over your shirt. And look at what we have now. Saving Engel Stadium is not going to be easy, but if it were me, I would get a group of interested people together, a core group, create a not-for-profit, come up with a vision, a consistent vision that everybody can agree to, and take it to the university, take it to Alan Jones, take it to the two mayors. I know both of them pretty well. I'm redoing the signage on the Walnut Street Bridge for it right now, because they never paid me for it the first time.
So are we signing you up to be at?
Well,
Are we signing you up to be on that group?
I think I could be a facilitator. And
I think you could.
I'm an architect and an urban designer. I really consider myself to be a project manager. I had the opportunity to restore the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island with the most famous architects in the world, and got Lee Iacocca in, and we raised $200 million off budget. That was the money that restored the Statue of Liberty. We raised it all back.
So you could handle Engel Stadium.
Well, it wouldn't be my first rodeo.
Thank you, Garvin. Thank you.
That's what I would suggest.
You know you're on tape, right? Recorded.
I'm always being recorded.
All right, well, let's see if we can hear, anybody else got some thoughts or ideas they want to share? Okay, you coming up?
Yeah.
Great.
My name's Patrick Kraft. My great-grandmother played there in the women's league. And when I found out about this, I started calling around. I went so far as to calling the White House, trying to save it, no lie. And luckily, I dialed a number one day, and she picked up. And I finally found somebody else who cared as much as I did. And I've talked to senators, congressmen, mayors, everybody in between. I ended up playing at Engel Stadium with my great-grandmother there right before she died. It was such a heartfelt moment that it made me take sports more serious, and I became a professional wrestler and traveled the world doing it. Made a decent name for myself as an athlete, but it's something that changed my life. That's why it's so important to me. And when I finally was able to talk to her, it became something more serious in the aspects of, I want to save it. I've talked with Cooperstown, I've talked with everybody else. I have a number that was roughly estimated, given to me, to even buy the stadium. So I have enough people
What was
involved.
that? What was that?
$30 million. So I have enough people who are trying to get involved. I'm trying to get people involved as well. This lady right here is the best person I've ever talked to because she has the connections and knows everything where I don't. So please, if you have ideas, if you have anything, help us out. This is extremely important. It's saving a piece of history. It's saving a piece of my family history. And it's saving a piece of Chattanooga and a piece of baseball history.
Okay, Charles Ambrose. Wait, one more. Okay.
So I'm David Patton. Got the stadium, played baseball there when I was at Baylor back in the 70s. I saw Jimmy Buffett there, Leon Russell, millions of, I had a friend of mine, crazy baseball fanatic, and we used to sit down there at home plate and gun the pitchers and give all the data to the team. I drove out there today, and I tell you what, it was heartbreaking. It's been a while since I've been down there. And what Garnet said was right. And believe me, I've been on the tail end of a few failed projects that broke my heart. One being the Chattanooga History Center. We raised $8.5 million, and the city and the county would not support us. That hurt because the one thing that Chattanooga has, and I disagree with Garnet respectfully, I think our direction as far as planning is the worst it's ever been. We got buildings. I live in North Chattanooga in a historic neighborhood, and somebody's building a barn across the street from me. It's just, we're not like Charleston, and we have more history. And we've got a really bad history going on right now, tearing down beautiful old buildings. It doesn't seem to be stopping. There's a whole list of those, including my great-grandfather's house at UTC, the old Patton house is getting ready to be torn down. But he is right in one thing, because I can get off on this topic for a while, it really upsets me. You will never save that stadium if you don't have a really exciting vision. And the only way you get exciting vision is you get a lot of people in a room and you talk for a long time, like we did when I first got out of college, and we did Vision 2000, and that's when we came up with the idea for the aquarium. And who the F would have ever thought the aquarium, and now 2 of those, would have saved our riverfront. I remember when the idea was first floated, I was in that meeting, okay? And people were like, what? And he mentioned, so I'm not the great visionary, I don't know that, but my thought would be the city and the county have their plates full. They got the new one coming up. We just raised property taxes. I don't know how much more they want to take on. It needs to go private, in my opinion. If you've never seen the 60-minute story, and he brought it up, on the Savannah Bananas, you need to go home tonight and Google it, okay? Because the story of the Savannah Bananas, and if I can take one more second, last December, I've got some relatives that live in Nashville. I tried to get some Savannah Bananas tickets at Nissan Stadium, okay, that holds almost 70,000 people. I got on a list in December to be able to apply for a ticket in March. And when it came around to my turn in March at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the gates opened at 10, it was already sold out. Sold out in 3 hours, 80,000 people. And they're doing this all over the country. And the reason I bring this up, I'm not saying let's become the Savannah Bananas, but if you've ever seen it, the challenge with baseball right now is baseball's boring for a lot of people. Okay? It excites me because for me it's like chess, I like to watch it. But he realized if you gave people something else to do while the game's going on and make it fun, and that's what he's done. That's the kind of crazy vision this place needs. Is, you know, what can it be? Because if you just say, okay, if you just redo it and you don't have a plan, you're going to end up with the same problem again 20 years from now. It's going to rot again. Okay, we have plenty of fields, but yes, like Garnet said too. I mean, this is one of the top softball destinations in the entire nation. And so I don't know. My suggestion to Janet would be get an injunction to put this thing on hold. Put together a think tank, see if you can put something together. If you can't,
At least we tried.
game's over.
At least we tried.
But you got to have some time to really get some energy behind
Right.
it. So that's my.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Okay, Charles, come on up. I want to introduce you. Okay, the reason we're here tonight, it's this man's fault. I stepped away from the Engel Foundation in 2015. It still kept me awake at night, but I thought, oh, what can I do? What can I do? And so, you know, roughly 10 years goes by, and one day my phone rings, and it's Charles Ambrose, and he says, I'm a filmmaker. I'm going to do a documentary and a feature film about Joe Engel. And I'm thinking, what would that mean for Chattanooga? You know, what if our story is viewed on the big screen around the world? And how come this guy who's not from Chattanooga is the one that's doing this project? How did he get inspired? Anyway, so I wanted you guys to have a chance to meet Charles. You can also watch him on Nashville 911 right now. I think, especially the most recent episode. But anyway, he can tell you his own story about how he came to find out about Engel and what his plans are going forward.
Well, as I was driving down I-24 coming from Nashville, I had a little extra time to think about how I could be of service tonight. I-24 is not to be messed with. I don't know if you guys have. And I think what I came up with is I think I can offer an outside perspective on what you guys have. I think if you're here, you probably already understand the value of the history of Engel Stadium and Chattanooga baseball, Joe Engel in particular. But I think an outside perspective and give you my experience, how I discovered the story, I think might be valuable. And then also, maybe I could be a bearer of hope, because there's a lot of parallels to saving Engel Stadium and my industry. I'm an actor and a producer, filmmaker. If you don't know who I am, don't worry. Not a lot of people do. I sometimes don't know who I am, so. But there's a lot of parallels. People don't really understand what goes into making a movie, and it's almost an impossible task. It takes a lot of people coming together with artists in their own right, coming together, and basically a miracle is performed, and you get to go see it on the screen or on your TV now. And so my industry is built on hopes and dreams and believing in the impossible, and those dreams come true all the time. So I discovered Engel Stadium completely by accident. I was doing some research for something else and came across the stadium, and it didn't take long for me to do a little bit of research, started digging, and discovered Joe Engel's story. And I was absolutely blown away by this man's life. And are you guys all familiar with Joe Engel's life? Some of the some of the bullet points of his life. He grew up in Washington, D.C. He played with Theodore Roosevelt's kids. He hobnobbed with the Washington Senators and the owners. Then he became the bat boy, the mascot. Then he pitched for him. Then he became a scout and parlayed that into becoming the president of the Lookouts. Not to mention a couple seasons on vaudeville and a comedy show, which kind of strikes a nerve with me, being an entertainer. The man's life, even before he took ownership or became the president of the Lookouts, is something that should have been written about a long time ago. But that's really the point where the magic started, was when he took over the Lookouts in late 1929. And you guys all know what he's famous for, his promotions. He basically, you guys are talking about the Savannah Bananas. Well, he is like the godfather of that type of play, right? And those kind of promotions. So I discovered this story. I got goosebumps right away, and I immediately knew that I had to tell his story. What I wasn't quite ready for was Engel Stadium, and what I was getting into with that. I've had more meetings about historical conservation and talked to more people about historical conservation than I ever thought I would. But it's become one of the key points of this project, and something that is just like burrowing itself into my heart. I have spoken with Engel family members. I've been invited into their homes. My house, I'm surrounded by Engel things. I have handwritten letters to Joe Engel's wife after he passed away, sending their condolences. I've got a picture of Joe Engel on my desk. I have done nothing but lived and breathed Joe Engel in Engel Stadium for the last 4 or 5 months. And I feel as time goes on, Chattanooga is starting to become sort of an adopted home for me. I've been down here a lot, and things have become very personal for me. It's not just about a project, it's not just about making a movie, it's not making a documentary. Engel Stadium has become very personal to me. I visit it every time I come down here, and the feeling that I get, the feeling that I first got when I met you and Joe there, just the energy that surrounds that stadium, it gets your imagination flowing right away. I played baseball when I was a kid, loved baseball, so I've got that attachment to it, but I don't even think you need an attachment to baseball. Jenna, she never played baseball. She never, but
You don't want me to play baseball.
anyway, all that to say that this story is absolutely extraordinary. The history of that stadium is absolutely extraordinary. And the thing is it's there. It's there. Now, I didn't realize the time was going to be, ticking as fast as it was. It seemed like things were in limbo, and then last month you get that article, and all of a sudden, time is of the essence. So, what everybody's talking about here, having a plan, all that kind of stuff, I think that is not absolutely necessary, but there needs to be a groundswell of support. It takes all of us as individuals to come together somehow, some way, and I think this could be a catalyst for that, bringing together a group of people that really do care. But it's going to take more than just one meeting. It's going to take more than 2 meetings. It's going to take active going out there, getting a hold of your local representatives, all that to really force the issue, so we do have the time to come up with a plan. And so how I had planned on doing that, best laid plans. I'm developing a documentary right now. The idea was to get the documentary to a point where I could go out and present it to people, get people talking about Joe Engel, get people talking about Engel Stadium, going out and making as much noise as possible about the stadium to start that sort of groundswell. Well, that hasn't happened. So now things have changed slightly. So I don't have a documentary yet. I'm working on it, but those things take time. So I am here just, urging you guys on as locals to stand up. And if you really believe that stadium needs to be preserved, then you got to stand up and make noise. And I'm gonna try to do as much as I can. I've got there's an interview coming out next week. I'm trying to get a hold of local reporters in Nashville. I'm gonna start. To be honest with you, it's probably a little premature to be talking about my projects because they're in early stages of development. But I think it's necessary for me to start talking about them and connecting them to the stadium to try to get as much support behind this as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my best. Now for the bearer of hope, like I said, the stadium is there. I've been there a bunch of times. It's physically there. It's in disrepair, but it is there. That's more than you can say for a lot of things. You want to make a movie, you gotta make it out of thin air. Where it's writing a script, and getting the crew together, shooting it, editing it, putting it out in the theaters, all that kind of stuff. It's there, but it's not gonna be there for much longer if you guys don't stand up and start making some noise. And I'll be there with you, doing what I can for you guys. So that's it. That's my story. I really think you guys have something special, and it would be a shame to try to make a movie about Joe Engel and his house not be there, and I'm going to do whatever it is I can to make sure that doesn't happen. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That was awesome. Okay. Who else has a comment or a question? Yes, sir.
Communication is key. We need to stay in touch with each other about events, meetings like this. Is there any way that we can kind of get a little sign-in sheet going with email addresses and names?
Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Vital piece of information. I miss my man. So we don't have a physical sheet, I don't think, tonight. But I've got a website called, it's www.thebarnumofbaseball.com. You guys can go on your phone right now, thebarnumofbaseball.com, and on there is a link to a form that can be filled out. It's going to ask you some questions about Engel Stadium, what your thoughts are on it. You can fill out as much or as little as you want, but a couple of the key points is name, email address, phone number if you want, and all that contact information. Jenna will have access to anybody that wants to help organize. I will give them access to that so we can start putting together something and really pumping these numbers up a little bit. So thebarnumofbaseball.com. Please go fill out the form so we can grow the numbers.
And there's one other place you can go. We started a Save Engel Stadium Facebook page. Thank you, Sally, so much for helping with that, because I don't really understand social media very well. But I would say that we are more and more posting information on that group page, and that you are welcome to go there. I think you can message me through it also. I'm not sure what the next steps are. I just know that we have to keep moving forward, and we will find a way. And I just appreciate everybody. Yes, Dan. Oh, please do. And then Miriam, she had her hand up. So Dan.
My name is Dan Creed, and I have already been told to keep this positive. But we're talking about, for Chattanooga, we're talking about a negative thing that's happening to our city. I came to Chattanooga in 1968. been involved with Engel Stadium. I umpired 25 years of college baseball, and I'm an avid Lookouts memorabilia collector. And I walked through Engel. Two or 3 years ago with a friend of mine, and we looked around and saw how bad a condition it was in, and I literally cried because, and I shared some men back there. I can remember first game of the baseball season, walking out on Engel Stadium, just smelling that fresh grass cut, and just chills. I'm talking about now, and I got chills thinking about the time I spent there. I saw my son play baseball there in college, and but one thing that has always stuck in my mind throughout my years, there was a local pastor who was very successful, and he used to always say about every other week in a service, he does say everything rises and falls on leadership. What we need is we need a politician, we need a businessman to grab a hold of what we want to do. Hey, we need to find somebody that is inspired like we are to get this job completed. So I just want to share, I'm with you. I've got friends that are out of town that are with us on this. I tell people when they ask me what I do, I tell them I build museums. So I've got a gentleman from Dallas, Texas, and we would walk through museums through minor league baseball fields. And he's keeping up with what's going on in Chattanooga concerning Lookouts, Engel Stadium. And this may sound corny, but we need to pray about this.
I do.
And, we can all help each other, but God can help us even more with our project. And that's all I have to say. I've got a legal pad back there. If you'd like to give me your name and number, that way I can make contact with you. I've got business cards I'll pass out. Thank you.
Dan. I just have a question. How much time is there if we're out of time?
So the question is, how much time is there? And I don't know the answer. There was one news report that said Engel was going to be gone by the end of the year. Somehow, I don't think that's quite true. I think we have a little more time, but I don't want to guess. I want to try to find out, really what the plan is. Not quite sure how to do that yet, but I think that's got to be one of the next steps. Going back to that, as some of us have said, we need a pause. We need a pause because we need time to redevelop the plan and put the team together and figure it out. I believe we can figure it out, but we need the opportunity to do that. So, anybody else have anything? Oh, yes, Patrick.
I was told, to add to that, I don't know if she even knows this yet, but I was told that parts of it, after being torn down, were going to be used at the new Lookout Stadium as a piece of the museum that they're putting in. Now, I don't know how serious that is or not. That's just rumored that I was told. So I don't know the timeline on that, but that we can probably estimate upon how long we have from moving point A to point B if we're going to follow through with that. If they don't, if we're able to get lucky enough to do so, then we might be able to, but as of right now, that was the last piece of information I was told about trying to keep it. We're going to put up the plaque, we're going to take some of the stuff from there, we're going to move it over here, and that's our version of keeping Engel Stadium alive. So that's the last piece of information I was told by UTC, by congressmen, by senators, by people. So call. I can't. As crazy as it sounds, call. Call your mayor's office. Call your senators. Call your congressmen. People want to get involved, but they don't want to be the first one to put pen to paper. That's our problem. I've been told by people all over this state, from the highest to highest to the lowest of lows in politics. I'm in. I'm great. You get it figured out. Give me a call, and I'll hop in. I got to have enough pressure on some people that want to put it to paper and be the first one. Because once we do, I can get this ball rolling, and I know she can. So it's just got to get that. So please put pressure on it. Do what you can. As crazy as it sounds, just annoy them to death until they finally say, all right, fine, you've made enough noise, you've made enough pressure, we're in. And that, I think, is our best option.
That's very heartfelt, but the time, it's not running out, it's out. You really have to come up with a plan, financed, that will meet most all of these different agendas. But you've got to get together. I'll give you an example, and I have to go back to my experience. There was a group of, back in the late 70s, a group of people that were asked to get together in Nashville to create the Tennessee Nature Conservancy. I had the opportunity to be involved with the National Conservancy. We were able to go up to, it was Bradley Curry and I went up to see the folks at the Southern Railroad, and we said, we need that right of way up to Little Falls, all the way back to where they were digging with the shovels from the Panama Canal. We need to make a road all the way to Cloudland Canyon Park. And they said, well, sure, you can have it. It was given to the county, and we now have a road all the way from the bottom of the mountain out to Cloudland Canyon. We created, they asked people from all over the state of Tennessee, here it's really just Chattanooga, to create the Tennessee Nature Conservancy. I had the privilege to be the founding director of the Tennessee Nature Conservancy. We created the conservancy that has restored the River Gorge. We had people, Dr. Elsie Quarterman from Memphis, and all of the great people, Mac Pritchard, and we just overwhelmed them with people who were respected in their area, here historians of baseball, preservation of buildings, but got to get together, and you already got a Facebook page. That's how I started the restoration of the Walnut Street Bridge. I created Friends of the Walnut Street Bridge. Still out there. We have thousands of Friends of the Walnut Street Bridge. We sold all the plaques, raised tens of thousands of dollars selling all those plaques in the bridge. You could sell a seat plaque for every one of the seats in the Engel Stadium. Who wouldn't buy one of those for $100? And when they come to the ball game, they get to sit there for free. I used to sit behind first base and watch Jesse Levan, who was the first base. Oh, he was great. He was a big old boy, and he could knock it over the fence. But you got to get organized now, and got a plan. Right here in the audience is one of the finest urban planners I have ever known in my life, and I've known a lot of good ones. I hope you would join this
She's
group.
in. Whether she
And
likes it or not, she's
You
in.
gotta get together, sit down, form a 501c3, come up with an agenda, name all of the people that you need to talk to. I cornered someone whose name I'm not going to mention,
Hey, Garnet,
2 weeks ago.
why do you need to have a 501c3? Couldn't a private enterprise buy the thing from UTC if they were going to sell
Well,
it?
I think you need a 501c3 to be behind, for instance, when we created the Facebook page of Friends of the Walnut
I
Street
see.
Bridge, we also created 501c3. Of course, we were selling all the plaques on the bridge.
Oh, I
You
understand
could
that.
sell a plaque for each of the stadium seats.
Historic tax credits.
There are lots of possibilities, but first of all, you need a list of everybody that is here. And
Okay, nobody can leave until we get your
really,
name and.
just write your name on a piece of paper with your email address and your phone number. And I'll be glad to collect all that information. I still have the Friends of the Walnut Street Bridge. We've been together for 30 years. We started as a Facebook page, and we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars selling those plaques. I think you could do that in the state. That's what I would do.
All right.
Okay, I'm hearing a call to action to get organized, get a plan. We need you. We need people who care and who want to work on this together. So do please write down your name and your contact information so we can find you and when we figure out the next step. I also want to mention Todd Morgan from Preserve Chattanooga was here tonight. You know, they are also working, they have contacted the university. They hope to meet with UTC in the next couple of weeks. So he may find out more information about their plans. But, you know, there's an organization that, you know, is advocating for this as well. We're not alone.
I've got to interrupt you. Just, I know Todd very well. I created Landmarks Chattanooga, which is now the group that Todd runs. Todd and I are close. We've suffered a defeat in losing the medical arts building just lately, but Todd we celebrated our 50th anniversary last month, starting the preservation. And Todd is a great person. I know we can get on board, and he's getting ready to tear the medical arts. They made the decision on that. It's a great building. They're actually going to mess up one of the most important historic buildings by changing the church, which is a mistake. Be that as it may. I think we can get the people with their phone numbers and email addresses, and right next to that, but you take the Facebook page over there. We still have Friends of the Walnut Street Bridge. I know you're a member. And could come up here just for a second.
I think Helen needs you.
Helen, give us your perspective on urban design. You and Stroud Watson are here.
So I'm Helen Broom Sharp. I grew up in Chattanooga, was gone for a long time, came back. Didn't intend to become a citizen activist, but somehow got off on tax breaks, and just sort of what I've been kind of a watchdog. But I grew up in Chattanooga, and I was a Lookouts fan, and I can name some people, none of you all, because you're too young to have ever heard of. Like I actually met Harmon Killebrew, who's maybe a Hall of Famer, I'm not sure, possibly. He played for the Lookouts for Farmington and the Washington Senators, because you wouldn't believe it looking at me, but I'm older than some of you all probably, or whatever. But when I learned about this, has just really made me sad, and now made me hopeful that there is an opportunity. It's not over until it's over. And, this is such an opportunity, and hats off to Jana, who, has sort of made this rise from the ashes, because everybody else would have just said, oh, well, it's not going to happen. But it can happen if people like us get organized to make it happen. And my friend Garnet, I think, has a real point, and I think Jana shares this, is that we need a vision. We need to figure out who the decision makers are. And I think, if we come up, and she's so correct, I think, and that we need to punch the pause button, and we need a little bit of time to come up with the vision. I believe there is money in the private sector out there, but we need to have a plan. And we need, it's easy to be down on, why did the city county give it to UTC? Did UTC ever want it? They kind of sat on it and haven't done much with it. But at the same time, I don't think we want to be negative. I don't think we want to blame it on UTC or the city and county. This is an opportunity to figure out what this can be. And this is something that, like she said, it's not like a farm field in Iowa that's a movie set. This is the real deal. And we have got to do everything we can to make this a reality. And I think we can. And I think if we have a plan and we have a vision, there is money in this community. And there are people that care about this community. And one of the things Engel Stadium did is kind of like what White Duck Taco is doing. They're bringing people together. And one of the things I love about this place is they said, we want a place where Highland Park and Orchard Knob and Ridgedale can kind of come together. Well, that's what Engel Stadium was about back in the day, and that's what Engel Stadium can be again. So let's get involved. Let's have a positive attitude. Let's try to figure out what the vision is and get it to our elected officials and other people in the community, and let's make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Is there anybody else that has anything they want to add to this conversation? Because otherwise, I think they might be ready to show 42. I don't know where Nelson is, but I know some of you came tonight because you want to see a great film. And I hope that you will sign the sign-up sheet, because we will follow up with you and we will figure out what the next step is. The louder our voices are, the more opportunity we have to get an audience with the people who make the decisions. And by the way, if you look on that table over there under the white duck, there is a sheet of paper that says key decision makers for Engel. And I have listed who they are and what their contact information is. And I would encourage you to do what Patrick did. Call them, email them. It does make a difference. And so you can either, there's a few copies over there, or you can just take a picture with your phone. But really, we're looking at Randy Boyd, who runs the UTK system. We're looking at, I think it's Bo Watson, who is a key member of our state delegation. I listed Brent Goldberg because he's important at UTC. I also put the county commissioner and the city council person for Engel's district, and I put the city and county mayors. So do not be shy. If you want to keep it, you got to do the work. You got to make your voice known. So thank you, everybody. Any last thoughts or questions? All right, and thank you, White Duck Taco. Yay! All right, everybody eat and drink.
Well, that's what you've heard. It's a call to action to try to save Engel Stadium. So I know that this has gone longer, but I thought it was very worthwhile to try to preserve this huge piece of history for Chattanooga. Anyway, guys, as always, I'm off to go on some more journeys. So until then, why don't you go on a journey of your own? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.